Hi, what's going on?
Oh, nothing. Glad you made it.
Hi, well, I'm Rocky, and welcome to lesson 5 of, and today's specific episode is sofa surgery. We're visiting the home of Mrs. Ann Ziegenhorn here, who's called me with a possible problem with her couch. It seems like there have been a number of complaints from various guests and passersby, and she called me, with maybe that I might be able to do something about this problem at her house, as well as show you folks at home, how to deal with this, like, very contemporary problem of urban society, but not too many people like to talk about it, But whenever I make house calls like this, I always, basic motto, kind of like the Boy Scouts, which is be prepared. I always come with a full supply of tools necessary to deal with any contingency I may confront in this serious, episode here. And also, like, I did know in advance that I was dealing with a green couch covered in Mexican blankets, and so I've tried to come attired accordingly so that camouflaging myself from my subjects so that they don't get unduly nervous and make the problem more difficult, possibly withdrawing various appendages that do need to be pruned. Perhaps you could tell us, Miss Ziegenhorn, just exactly what complaints someone might have had about your various, your couch, which and we'll see what we can do.
Well, why don't you come this way and I'll show you.
Go ahead. Lovely home you have here, Miss Ziegenhorn.
Why, thank you, Rocky.
Why, don't I hear the beautiful strains of Walter Carlos's Spring playing on your stereo?
Yes, you do.
Not many homes you come to, understand such lovely music.
Well, as a matter of fact, our home would be one of the loveliest in Austin, except for it needs
my
couch
God.
pruning. Take a look
The
at
problem's
this.
worse than I'd imagined.
I've speared my head many a time on that. And look at here, right along here. I walked across many times and just cut my head
Didn't they warn you about this in high school health class, the dangers of letting this go too far?
Well, they had, but I just didn't know who to call.
Well,
Jimbo, maybe you can tell Rocky about some of the problems we've been having.
We have been inconvenienced by this couch springs on several occasions. It's quite embarrassing at times.
well, no, I think I came prepared to deal with these,
Let
these.
me move out of your way.
Okay.
I'll let
Right.
you get
Although I
started.
do see the section that requires immediate surgery is requires, let's say, that I have to change my manner of dress so that I don't unduly alarm the couch to be pruned. That you don't want to disturb their balance. Like they can be extremely aggressive creatures when unduly provoked. So
Couches like this are very high strain.
Couch ergonomics, would you say, Mr. Coleman?
yes, that undue inconvenience to human beings using them definitely does not provide for a human convenience.
But so it's nice to watch a craftsman work, a real
Yes,
artist.
it is.
It is always important, to first assess whether the various appendages, in this case, is errant spring to be pruned, is really for the overall good of the couch. It's much like tree pruning in this sense. You just don't go, like lopping off the tree 1 foot from the base in order to, grab an errant limb that has encountered your neighbor's electric or telephone lines. So you have to go about this very carefully, and it is wise that given this situation, that it is wise you call a professional. And I say, this example here, this is something that can easily be dealt with the folks at home, but this one down here, like, those of you who aren't too mechanically inclined probably should go ahead and call a professional, but as long as you can nip this in the bud while it's still only at this stage, it's a job that you can easily be handled at home with very basic tools. A trip to the hardware store will easily flesh out your toolkit, and with tools that you will gladly use for a number of different applications. Let's just see what we have in the toolkit that we can apply to this purpose. My first move in this kind of case would be first to measure the offending spring and just see about how drastically you're going to get the couch. I have just a common tape measure here, and this one protrudes approximately 3/4 of an inch. Well within the range where no serious harm to your couch can be evinced, even by the most amateurish of amputations. But another question that always comes to mind is, well, is this still part of the living, breathing couch, or is it really just a dead branch? Everyone goes, well, that's just a dead branch. Maybe we should just trim it off. And people go out there with an axe and, you know, just unnecessarily kill a 100-year-old oak tree by just the tiniest excision of a twig. So my favorite method of determining the life of the couch is with just the common volt-ohm meter. Just set yours for some resistance scale, preferably R times 1K, and just apply the probes very sparingly and look at the reading. If you get a reading in the range of approximately 0 to 10 ohms, certainly move that more easily for our audience at home.
Are your windows rolled up, Mr. Coleman?
Yes, they are. Thank you. My neighbor's weather beetle informed me in advance it would rain at approximately a 729. But notice, you get an extremely low resistance reading. In that case, then you know that it is ripe for pruning.
Mr. Coleman, the question that I always wonder about this couch pruning business that people are getting into is, what about the upholstery?
Well, that's one of the things I'm going to go into here tonight, is to show you how to prune your couch without damaging your fine upholstery.
Really good.
It's very easy. Like I said, in this sort of case here, it's very easy to deal with. You know, I said now, but it's always wise to deal with it at this stage and not let the problem go too far. I've known people that have let the problem go so far as to lose an entire section of their very valuable sectional couch.
That's terrible.
You know, and it's like, it is a tremendous loss to the individual. You know, there's like, especially when it's entirely unnecessary.
Heavens, Jim, I'm glad we caught it in time.
So, like say for a 3/4 incher like this, I typically recognize the diagonal cutting plier. There are a number of companies that manufacture these, but basically it is mainly identified by the fact that you can cut extremely close up to the edge of a number of surfaces. Whereas you take your normal pliers or wire cutters, you can not get twice as close. But the angle design of this model here allows you to like mash it up close and to trim off the offending spring very close to its roots, and at least prevent the problem from recurring as soon as possible. But, so, well, since you brought this up, Mr. Nosler, like, in order to prevent damage in the upholstery, you should always, like, mash the couch down around and expose the root of the spring. Now, this is something not many people have ever attempted. But, yes, if you try to lop it off like this, a section, it's very difficult. But yet, you just push it back in, it won't harm your couch at all. Many people are worried about this, that, like, cutting off the spring too deep in the couch may cause it to be ingrown, or actually cause full backrest collapse in the most severe of cases. But once again, if you're careful, everything will turn out.
No, I didn't do any good with that with my electric razor.
Yeah. Now the electric, like, there you open yourself to a severe danger of electric shock.
I thought so.
Oh, I told you, Jim.
That at any moment the electric razor could catch the spring and shoving it deep into the works of the razor, contacting your AC line. And no, the right tool for the right job is what I always say. But let's get right on down to business here and see what we can do. Okay, like I said, taking the diagonal plier with the flat side of the plier. There's also an open side of these pliers. With the flat side, obviously, if you cut it off like this, you're going to leave a 1/4 inch, which is just not acceptable. That
almost as dangerous as the full 3/4.
Perhaps creating a danger even worse. Notice how, as they grow out, they spiral, and the dangerous sharp tip, which was last pruned, I must say, I've known Miss Siegenhorn for a number of years, and observed their couch pruning methods, and leaves something to be desired as far as, like, trimmed quite dangerously, both in the danger to the, themselves as well as the health of couches.
We never realized.
Well,
Do you have a test for malignancy?
we'll probably get to that in the second part of our show.
Perfect.
But notice how, as it spirals outward, the sharp point does point to the back, only endangering people who've laid their arm and drag it. But there's a mere quarter-inch, for especially freshly cut and sharp, just a mere laying of the arm onto the couch can cause wounds which quickly become infected and almost always lead to gangrene and possible death.
I worry about the cats.
But yes, for those of you with cats that like to sit at the back of the couch, I'd recommend that I just bring in a professional right away. You know, the service is economical, quick, doesn't mess up your house, and could preserve the life of you and your many loved ones. But while firmly pressing down the upholstery around the area to be severed, with the flat edge of the diagonal cutting pliers, carefully grip the spring and lop it off as close to the base as you possibly can. Let us see if these will even do the job. Even this one may be too severe for my end.
Let's have a look. Looks like he got it.
Yes, Mr. Nosler, if you'd like to come so I can look and see if the upholstery relatively unscarred, except for the minor puncture wound the spring itself made, but undamaged by the fine diagonal cutting pliers.
It's amazing.
This is like new. It's like years ago. It took years off that couch.
And
now come here. Look at this. Look at this boy. Check this couch.
Looks, boy. Look.
here we have the latest in government spring-sniffing dogs, loaned to us for this very evening by the DA.
Where's the spring, boy?
The only dog
doesn't even
recognized
recognize
by
the
the
couch.
U.S. Supreme Court as authorized for issuing search warrants based on illicit springs.
That's amazing.
Thank you, boy.
But obviously did not
He cares
respond. Now, so a beautiful couch is restored. Now, I will.
Thank you.
I'll be the first to point out that this problem can recur. But I said with a careful program of couch pruning, and especially if you've had a professional in your home to show you how it's done, you can easily perform routine maintenance yourself. A simple pair of diagonal cutters, between $5 and $10 at the store, depending on what quality level you go for. But basically, this is something you should consider, and don't let the problem get hard. Now, we have this other one here that will require for perhaps more drastic methods, but perhaps this is a good time to remind you that today's episode is being brought to you by Dremel Moto Tools. Yes, Dremel Moto Tool, our sponsors throughout many long seasons, but they're, tonight we're introducing a new model, the Dremel Variable Speed Moto Tool, model 380-6. And this is a wondrous tool. Handy, lightweight, plugs into any AC outlet. Variable speed from 0 to 25,000 RPM with a simple flick of a switch. Power on and continuous variable speed with constant torque, which is something you don't get with those other moto tools out there, other brands.
Did you hear that?
A real boon to humanity. And for example, this model here comes complete with a handy plastic carrying case, as well as a full accessory assortment. So you get your grinding wheels, you get your brushes, you get your sanding drums, your drill bits, your router bits, your saws. For example, look at this tiny saw.
Amazing.
For example, installing speakers in your car when you have to cut out cardboard and thin plastics in the rear deck to accommodate your 6x9 speakers.
Amazing.
Just reach right in. A tool that reaches into many tiny places with the greatest of ease.
How convenient.
And you can, although it is necessary to take the Dremel Home Correspondence course, for example, you can even be your own Dremel Home dentist, coming with handy dental bits.
It's astounding.
In another episode of this series, we have an entire episode devoted to the many uses of the Dremel Moto tool in an upcoming episode. But just consider, folks, purchasing one of these fine tools, and for a million uses, almost a modern religion. Dremel Moto temples are springing up just all around the country, but Austin here is a prime home of it.
Heaven.
But for these more major spring excesses here, I recommend that instead of the clippers, you use your Dremel moto tool with an abrasive disc, metal cutting, strong, and really more geared toward attacking these large problems. Like I said, this is when you need to call in the professional, you know. But let's see what we can do about attacking this one. Let's see, perhaps you can help me move this table back a little bit.
Certainly.
And let's just scoot this on back. Okay. Ah, yes, I see a handy electrical outlet for my, like I say, any AC outlet. That we will be coming out with a 3-way power model here in the future, which runs off of AC, DC, or battery power, like our previous Benoit balls, another legendary product from our company. But let me just move over here and plug this in.
Turned off. Yeah, now it's on 4.
Gosh, no grounding outlet on this extension cord. Well, I can solve that. Okay. Now that we have power...
Be careful with that thing, Jim Bob.
So, once again, now, in this example, we can't mash against the upholstery for the spring. But, so grasp the spring firmly with a pair of pliers. A small pair of needle nose works excellently, but any common household pliers will do just fine. But you do want to pull it firmly so that you can excise it as close to the root as possible. Y'all have all seen those twin blade shaving commercials where the dual blade system, the first blade pulls the whisker out deep from its root in the face and lops it off vacuously, so when it pops back, why, it might be days before you see any more whiskers, you know. And so this is the idea to work it on, you know. It's like try to lop it off as far back as possible so that it takes it longer to grow out, because these ones that are wayward will tend to come back to haunt you. But let's just see what we can do here with this handy tool. I'd recommend a very high speed for this heavy steel with the braided blade.
Look at the power behind that, Jim Bob.
It's amazing.
Well, as you can all see, the Dremel Moto tool is just unbounded in its quality. Let's just take a look here and see just what a prize we have. Although not world class, this could be a museum quality spring here. Why, would you look at that? More than a full 3 inches.
It's a whopper.
I
A
would have never
whopper.
imagined.
That's
No match for a moto tool.
no match for a moto tool. And that's, you know, like, there are so many chores around the house that you'd find that same. And like, notice the ease with the moto tool severed through this case hardened spring steel.
I'm amazed.
I like the sound. I mean, when you just listen to this thing go.
You can hear the
Sounds
power
like a
in that.
handheld ski boat.
The American Academy of Symphonies is considering
There's wonders
this
on
as a
tonary
variable
band.
tone, using it as allowing it as a new instrument in symphonic productions because you can adjust the tone so easily. It is mainly a mid-range sort of instrument, but
Personal fan too. It blows a cool breeze there.
now that we've now that we've taken care of the immediate problems here, I'd just like, say, we're going to take a short break for your local station identification, but then we'll be back with a few tips for those serious cases of latent pruning needs when the problem's not so obvious as most people find. Like how to know, like you should examine your cows at least once a month for these various symptoms, and we'll get back to that in just a minute.
Now? Yeah, think about this.
Now.
Channel 5 on the...
Now. Okay.
Channel 5 on the Wood Scrotum Network.
Hi, well, we're back, and before we go, I just want to, give you a couple of clues about those possible latent pruning needs. Those unseen examples of couch pruning where perhaps you didn't notice that it was that way. For example, if that whopping 3-incher that was over here had been butted between couches, you might not have ever noticed it, and your couch could have been deteriorating and creating dangerous public nuisances without your knowledge, So before I go, I want to give you a couple of clues how to notice those very hidden and secretive couch springs that may be lurking out there to get you, but just aren't quite so visible. For example, if you frequently notice yourself coming up with scratches from unforeseen places on the parts of your arms, so you might lay them back on the couch, or unsightly punctures on your gluteus maximus from sitting down on your couch. Every time you sit down, you think maybe you sat down on the cat or something, but no, the cat wasn't there. So, unusual punctures or scratches on your body.
Well, I find holes in my clothes.
This is a real problem, and then that could be a good clue that your real problem is just basic couch pruning.
Mm-hmm.
That most people don't recognize that this is really something that is even within the realm of the individual, the person. Like most people, it's like either society has tended to ignore the problem, always been back in a closet. We're trying to enlighten the world and bring these things out of the closet, and so that we solve the problems before they become their serious things, before it does lead to total backrest collapse or serious gangrene of the forearm.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure for myself and for also the people out there watching us at home, we thank you, Rocky Coleman, from the bottom of our hearts for bringing this subject to light.
Yeah, well,
Since time this story has been told.
It's controversial, and for a long time, that my producer wouldn't allow me to even tackle this one. I mean, handy clothesline construction in the bathroom, or plant stand construction, or fertilizing and watering of plants, and those they allowed. But this was one of those topics that was just, but only with the recent liberalization trend of television has this even been something that we can bring up. But our time's getting short, and I would like to just point out a couple of those telltale clues. And
Let me get out of your way.
Like if you look over the average couch, I say one, certainly if you notice undue scratches or punctures in your body, that you should look around. Like if you notice any, undue bulges, in your couch, that don't respond to typical straightening and flattening of the cover, it's like notice here you have bulges that flatten out, One looks carefully, it's like, perhaps this bulge here, could be it. Like if it's not soft and doesn't immediately close, this one feels very firm, that perhaps there could be a problem here. Much like, well, Mr. Nosler did ask about the possibility of malignancy in one's couch. Anytime you find an unduly firm lump, you should check it out. So the first step in self-examination of your couch is simply to remove the garments, and look and see, is my body changing, or is this something that has always been here and seems to? But let's just fold back the garments here, and oh my God, that yes, this examination did good latent signs. And I just wanted to point this sort of thing out to you folks at home. I'm sure this couch will bear a thorough inch-by-inch examination, and we'll. But remember that sharp spring is a killer, and I just hope I've, for those of you the problem hasn't progressed too far, I've learned something tonight, that whether it's the diagonal cutters or the wonderful Dremel Moto tool who's made this all possible for us, supported my shows over the aisles to where I can finally even bring up these controversial topics, will in the future take your time to examine your couch, look for signs of spring leakage, and trim off those you can yourself, or call in a professional before the problem's too bad. None of us wants to lose a couch. Good night, and come on back next week for lesson 6. Good night.
I think we ought to lop that page off.